Who is Rob Thomson, and how did he go from a bench coach to managing the Phillies in 2022? There are only 30 MLB manager jobs in baseball, so what did it take for Rob Thomson to finally prove that he's the right man for the job? Rob Thomson grew up in the small town of Kah-run-ah, Ontario, playing hockey in the winter and baseball in the summer. Early on in his college years, he was recruited by famous Yankee scout Dick Groch. A lot of kids play collegiate ball, but were his skills strong enough to be recognized by a major league team?
So you think you remember how Topper got his name? Why don't you try it out in the comments below?
The answer is yes, as the Tigers drafted him in the 32nd round in '85. After playing a few years in their minor league system, Rob knew he wasn't good enough to make it to the majors and shifted his focus to coaching. He served as a minor league coach in the Tigers system for 2 seasons before joining the Yankees in 1990. Coaching and running player development for the Yankees is where he began to work with players such as Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Alex Rodriguez, and CC Sabathia. He was instrumental in leading spring training operations, so much so that famous Yankees manager Joe Torre gave him the nickname of Topper because he was always on top of everything.
What was it about Topper's spring training that made it legendary?
It was just super organized. Like you always knew where to go. Like soon as when Topper wasn't there for the 2 years that I was there when he wasn't, I never knew where to go.
Joe Girardi hired Topper in 2008 to be his bench coach, and they ended up winning a World Series together the following year. After losing to Houston in the 2017 ALCS, the Yankees fired Girardi and began looking for a new manager. Surely, after spending 28 years with New York, Thomson would be the right guy to land that job, right?
Okay.
You were there? I think your entire time with the Yankees, Rob Thomson was there.
Yes.
He's the first guy they interviewed. Do you think he'd make a good manager for the Yanks?
He'd be awesome. I love Rob Thomson as a person. I love him as a baseball guy. He bleeds Yankee blue and the pinstripes. He's one of those guys. As soon as people started asking me, I was at the World Series when they decided not to bring Joe back. He was the first guy that came to my mind.
Well, not exactly. He was passed over for Aaron Boone, who won the job instead. Rob knew it was time to move on and was hired by Phillies skipper Gabe Kapler to be his bench coach. Kapler was then let go by the Phillies a year later, and Topper was in the right place at the right time. Wasn't he? Well, not exactly. The Phillies instead hired his friend Joe Girardi to be their new manager. Philly began their 2022 season with a dismal 22-29 record. Dave Dombrowski knew it was time for a change, and fortunately, he already had his manager sitting on the bench. From that point on, the team went 65-46, just squeaking into the playoffs. As in Rob's story, the Phillies too were huge underdogs, but they didn't care, going on to defeat the Cardinals, and then the Braves, and then they capped it off by beating the Padres to clinch a World Series berth. Before the season began, Rob had intended on retiring from the game of baseball, but as fate would have it, he was rewarded with a 2-year contract to stay on as the team's manager.
And manager, Rob Thomson.
Hey, if you thought that was a fascinating story about a guy who almost quit the game and ended up in the World Series, check out the next one. Dusty Baker actually won the World Series, coming from almost wanting to quit the game to winning the World Series. Can't beat that.